Welcome back, boys and girls, to episode 47 of the Nerd Chills podcast. This is Adam Diaz, and with me, as always, is CJ. How are you doing, CJ?
I am doing great. Had the last couple days off. Thanksgiving was awesome. Ready to record another great show for all of our lovely listeners.
Same here. I have a Thanksgiving hangover from all the food, which was fucking delicious. So I had a great time. And sitting in our third chair, Charlie. Welcome back, Charlie. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Have the opposite of a Thanksgiving hangover going, but
You spent most of your Thanksgiving inside a GameStop. Am I correct on that?
yeah,
That's brutal. So
it's cool.
it's cool. You got paid for it. So
Yeah.
That's good.
I got to get paid.
I spent about an hour in a GameStop on Black Friday, and by an hour I mean like 10 minutes. That just seemed like an hour.
Yeah.
But I piggity paid you guys. So
Oh man, I have a story I have to tell you later.
okay, not for pod.
Well, okay, so one of my associates told me that I was telling him that you guys came in, and then I was describing what you all looked like, because he was like, which ones were they? And then he was like, I was like, they had like the little blonde woman with them.
Little
and,
blonde.
It's my mother.
He was like, oh yeah, she kind of looks like, he said that she looks like, Bernadette from Big Bang Theory?
Wow.
And I was like, only like a little bit older than her.
Like, 62 version of Bernadette.
And I like said like roughly how old I think she is, and he was like, no way. And I was like, I'm gonna tell her you said this.
Oh, she's gonna be so happy. I'm pretty sure she's sleeping right now because it's 9 o'clock and she's 62. So she's also usually up till like 1 a.m. So
Yeah.
it's kind of ironic. But yeah, I had a great Thanksgiving. I'm glad to hear you guys did too. I mean, kind of for Charlie,
Yeah.
but not exactly.
Yeah.
But the thought on everyone's mind, the way we always start the show, I'll start with Charlie. What have you been playing?
I haven't been playing hardly anything.
Wow.
I've played Animal Crossing, and I've been cutting my Animal Crossing with a little bit of DS Animal Crossing.
Wow.
Because I'm getting pretty far up in Pocket Camp to the point where I don't have a lot to do other than like my daily stuff. So I kind of wanted to play regular Animal Crossing.
Sounds like Tom Nook is taking over your life.
Just Animal Crossing with a side of Animal Crossing.
This guy needs to be stopped. What kind of animal is Tom Nook?
He's gosh, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
That's creepy. Wow. Well, all I know is that he's always
He's a
asking me for
small,
bells
brown
whenever.
animal with a nose.
Well, he's a bastard. He's stealing your life away. So
Oh.
right on.
I'm trying to think. Is there anything else? No, I don't think so.
No?
Sorry.
Right on. CJ, what have you been playing this week, bro?
I have been making my thumbs bleed playing Call of Duty.
Nice.
I-
How is that going?
It's going well. So from where we were last week as a team, we finally found a fourth player that is consistently performing where we need him, and he actually wants to play every day, so that's good. And then we just started kind of clicking, and I think we won like 7 straight when before we were losing 7 straight, so that's a
Wow.
complete flip. It's been going, and we played in like our first tournament today and won the first round. Then got a pretty unlucky matchup against an actual pro team in the second round, so we lost that one. But it's been going good.
Good. That's awesome to hear, bro. I know you've been streaming a ton. I've been popping in there when I can when my phone actually has battery, but not too much. Robin Grace isn't here, but I can tell you that she's been playing a fuck ton of Overwatch, as per usual. So
And Scott Pilgrim.
And Scott Pilgrim.
Scott
She busts out
Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim, and we've been doing 3-player co-op with her and her sister. So we're at the end of the game, the very end of the game, and it's just extremely fucking hard. And then we started looking up. I should say they, not me. I don't, adhere to this or
Right.
subscribe to this behavior. But they started looking up cheat codes, and I was like, I
Cheat
don't want to give us
codes.
anything that's going to make us beat the game easier. And they're like, it's okay, and they're like putting in codes. And I'm like, well, I don't see anything that worked except that we're all starting with the Power of Love sword, which is incredibly fucking powerful to start the fucking level. And every time you beat a level and go on to like the next sub-level, you start with a new sword. So if you dropped it at any point or if it broke, you get another one.
Oh, wow.
And we still couldn't beat the fucking game.
Damn.
So we took a break. Aside from that, I installed Assassin's Creed Origins, which is kind of nice. I bought Stardew Valley, Assassin's Creed Origins, Deus Ex, Rocket League for my Xbox. I already have it on my PC. And This Is the Police for Switch. I binged a lot of fucking buying games. And I spent, I think, around $70 or $80 for all that.
That's not too bad.
I'm pretty happy about
I
it.
can list. I bought
Oh, yeah.
Black
Yeah, go for
Friday,
it.
thanks to good old GameStop, I bought Horizon Zero Dawn,
Yep.
The Last of Us, Kingdom Hearts 2 point some, I can't remember.
2.8.
Yeah, 2.8. And then I purchased Assassin's Creed Origins, and I purchased, there was one other game, Nier Automata on
Automata.
the PlayStation. Automata, yeah.
Yep, I think we got that too. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get Neo
so
and
that
Nier
Nier.
mixed up, and I remember we asked you to hold it like 3 times and changed our minds, and then wound up buying it. So
I bought Sims because it was going to be cheaper, and I was going to get it like a week ago when it came out, but why wouldn't I wait? And then I bought Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 because I never played Kingdom Hearts, actually.
I haven't either.
So good.
I think that was it.
Nice, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
After I got all those games, actually, I think this is before I got all those games, since my gift for Christmas from Rob and Grace was the Scorpio. I went out and I got myself a 55-inch Samsung 4K TV from Best Buy.
Nice.
Yes, it was very cheap. Very happy with it. Came home, hooked it up. One of my friends is like, fucking Samsung? I hate Samsung.
Samsungs are amazing.
Yeah, I'm like, you have Samsung dishwashers and washers and dryers. That monitor that's behind us right now, I've had that Samsung monitor for 13 years and it
Yeah.
still works
Yeah.
perfectly.
Samsungs are great.
This big one right here is a fucking Samsung, so I'm like, I have had nothing but luck, knock on wood, with everything Samsung. I came home, I bought the UHD 4K of Deadpool to watch, and then I got everything hooked up, worked super easy, and then moved our 52-inch that I used to play on into our bedroom, which is way too big for that room, but it's like a movie theater screen, so we're like, whatever. And then we watched Deadpool in 4K,
Nice.
and it looked incredible. Like,
Do
when
you-
Blu-ray first came out, I didn't like watch anything on it. I was like, whatever, I understand, it's like a better DVD. And then I watched Dark Knight, and I was like,
Oh, man.
holy shit, this looks incredible. And I didn't see anything with 4K, like, except like walking through the TV, walking through like, you know, Target or Walmart or whatever. So when we started Deadpool, which is a movie I've seen like 10 fucking times, I'm like, holy shit, like I can see like every grain and nothing is like distorted or blurry.
That's crazy.
So what were you gonna say, CJ? Sorry about that.
On your Samsung TV, do you have a sound bar?
I don't know.
Okay. How do you like your sound on it? Because like every Samsung, I have 2 Samsung monitors. I have 2 Samsung TVs, all different like models, and I've yet to find a good Samsung that actually has like just decent bass sounds. I always have to buy some type of sound bar.
I do like it. I was noticing earlier today because I was watching football on it that it's kind of quiet, so I have to turn it up to like 25.
Yeah, that's what
My
I'm
last-
saying. Like, yeah,
Yeah, my last
It
TV,
just seems
I didn't have to
weird.
do that. But when I was watching Deadpool, I had it on 12, and you know that was like way more than loud enough. So, but I will say it is a bit of a downgrade because the one I had before was a Vizio, and this is before smart TVs existed. So it's like the flat screen, but it's also heavy as fuck, and it has a
Yeah.
sound bar built into the bottom of it, so it sounded amazing.
Okay.
So this one isn't as good. I thought about getting a soundbar, but I was like, I don't really need it. But I'm super impressed with it. I played a lot of Overwatch with Robin. The other thing that we got for the household is $250 TP-Link router, because I realized that we used to use Charlie's router, which has like 3 antennas and worked just fine.
Yeah.
We gave it back, and my mom had a router, and we hooked that up instead, and it was like the size of my wallet, and it has no antennas. I was like, whoa. We've been running like every device in the house off this fucking thing. No wonder we've been lagging. So I went and found a good router that was on sale for about $100 off.
Nice.
It's like super high rated, like especially for large houses because this house is kind of big. Hooked it up, and I went from downloading it like 6 to 10 megs a second to downloading it like 70 megs a second. I was like, oh, thank God, this is so much better. So Robin and her sister are currently playing Overwatch, testing out our bandwidth. So
Oh, snap. Yeah, my router, I think I bought it like years ago, but it was like 150. Yeah,
overpaid.
I spent more probably than I needed to, but I was like, it's so fancy. It's like the Netgear Nighthawk
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, we never
Mine
had
was
to worry about
mine's
it.
300. Mine was $300.
Yeah,
Yeah, this one was $250, but normally it was like $375 or whatever.
that's not bad.
Yeah, there was one above it that didn't have as wide of a range, but was faster. And I was like, 5 gigs is pretty fast for me, and 3 bands is okay. So we have 2 5G
You guys need the
channels.
range.
Yeah, we really need the range. So we killed it this Black Friday. Pretty fucking
Yeah.
happy about it. So, yeah, so that's what we've been playing. That's what we've been buying. I watched Deadpool. I watched a bunch of anime. And I caught up a little bit on Dragon Ball Super. I'm like up to episode 45. And I gotta say, the show is so fucking ridiculous. It's just like every other Dragon Ball Z episode where a fight takes 20 minutes when it should only take fucking 10. But I've been enjoying it. There hasn't been a whole lot to watch aside from football because it's been the holidays. And that's really about it for me. CJ, what have you been watching this week, bro?
I started rewatching Stranger Things with Brittany on our car ride down to Kansas City.
Nice.
That was fun. And then really nothing else. I've just been, if I'm not at work, I'm working playing Call of Duty, and if I'm not doing that, I'm sleeping. So
Are you playing Call of Duty right now?
I'm messing around with my PS4 settings because my router's being shitty to it.
Okay, I could hear the sticks clicking, and I'm like,
Sorry.
Are you multitasking playing Call of Duty while talking to us? Right on. Charlie, what have you been watching this week?
So my sister got me into the Great British Bake Off, and
my God.
I finished the whole thing.
The whole thing.
There's 4 seasons on Netflix.
You finished 4 seasons.
Yeah, and I want you to know that mid-season I predicted the winner, and I was right every season.
Wow, that's impressive.
So I was really proud of myself there. But
I feel like I have to watch it now to
it
see if
was
I can
really
match that feed.
good.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was really, really good. It's just entertaining, and it's like less drama than American cooking shows.
Right, it's more about the food.
Exactly. So I really enjoyed it. And then we watched Taking Lives yesterday. That's like an old Angelina Jolie movie. It's really weird. It's like French Canada serial killer. It's funny because you've seen Prisoners, right?
Yeah, with Hugh Jackman, right?
Yeah. So in the beginning of this movie, I was excited because it's basically about like the psychopath and how he like kind of develops his tendencies. And it starts with like, spoiler alert, this movie's like 20 years old. It starts with this kid like on a bus leaving home, and he meets this other kid, and they like, the bus breaks down, so they decide to buy a car together and take off on in a car, and then they a tire goes out on them, and the psychopath kid decides to push the other kid in front of a truck and basically kill him so that he can like take over his identity. And so this is what he does. He like kills people and assumes their identity.
So he's taking their lives.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And the first psychopath kid is Paul Dano.
Okay.
And I was like, oh man, this guy's a perfect psychopath. Like I've seen him play this role like a couple times, and he's pretty fucking creepy. Flash forward like 10 years, and they changed him to Ethan Hawke. Grown-up version of Paul Dano with Ethan Hawke. And I was like, that doesn't even make sense. Also, they're in Canada. Why does Ethan Hawke still have his like Jersey guy accent? And like,
that's so funny.
It was so weird, and I was just like, why is this in Canada? Like, did they just decide like, we're gonna film everything here anyways, so let's just make it a Canadian film? But nothing is explained, and it's a little odd.
I feel like I'm going to avoid that one.
It's
just because it
interesting,
seems weird.
But it's really weird, and it's like, not a lot is explained.
I have too much in my backlog, I think, to get around to that one.
I'll hard pass that one.
I think it's insulting to Ethan Hawke. That's like, we imagine when you were a kid, you looked like this weird freak. So,
yeah, I just was like, that doesn't make any sense. They don't even look alike. And then, yeah, it's a weird movie. If you ever get a chance, you should just watch it so we can compare notes. But
okay.
We were trying to find like older stuff that I hadn't seen before, and that was one of the only things that we saw between like all 5 streaming services I have.
That's so funny. Pretty much everything that I bring up to Robin, she's like, I've never seen that.
She's like, what's that?
We watched... Like,
it stars this person. She's like, who's that?
Right, that's how she always is. We watched Die Hard last night at like midnight because we were talking about whether or not it's a Christmas movie, which it is. It signifies that Christmas season is here. Mm-hmm. Christmas season doesn't officially start until I see Hans Gruber drop off Nakatomi Tower. So we watched it, and she had seen it as a kid, but she didn't remember a whole lot about it. She's like, that movie was fucking awesome. I'm like, yeah, it really is. It spawned a franchise where maybe 2 of the other movies were really good and the other one sucked. And then
I really need to watch it.
It's so good. We were watching Hidden Figures too. I forgot.
Oh,
We actually watched a lot of shit. Hidden Figures is really good, and we were watching it, and I was like, this reminds me of Apollo 13. And Robin's like, I've never seen Apollo 13. I was like, it is literally one of the best movies ever made.
I've never seen
it. I hate you guys so much.
I haven't seen it either.
It is so good. You guys are fucking insane. It's directed by Ron Howard.
I love Ron Howard.
Obviously, it has Tom Hanks in it because he has the famous line, Houston, we have a problem. Yeah. And then his sidekick is Bill Pullman, who has now passed away. And then his third sidekick is Kevin Bacon. He takes the place, he's the pilot. He takes the place of Gary Sinise, who was supposed to pilot it. It's all a true story. It's about what happens when they go into space and everything goes wrong and every crisis that happens after that. And there's just so many good moments in that movie that when you think about it, you're like, fuck, I want to watch that movie. And, like, all the people on NASA and how brilliant they are, there's all these scenarios they get tossed and there's, like, no sleep for fucking anyone.
So you guys just watched watched and thought of a bunch of NASA movies
Pretty
because
much.
of Hidden Figures and...
While we were watching
Apollo
Hidden
13.
Figures, we were just like, wow, like, these people are absolutely brilliant. And I was like, it's like that scene in Apollo 13 where they're like, hey, they're dying right now, and they have no way to fix it, and they just dump a bunch of shit on a table, and everyone's like, what's this? And they're like, this is everything they have on the space shuttle. You need to fix something. You need to make something that's going to save their lives in this much time before they die.
Wow.
And they fucking do. And that's just one of the many challenges they face in the movie, and it's fucking epic and awesome. So, yeah, if you've never seen Apollo 13, we're going to have a fucking viewing party, a Nerd Chill's Apollo 13 viewing party, where you'll hear all the questions Robin asks, like, who is that guy? What did he just say? What is he doing? Why is he here?
When does Steven Tyler come in and sing Don't Want to Miss a Thing?
That's Armageddon.
Okay.
Which is funny, because when we were talking
Close
about
enough.
that, Robin's sister was like, I've seen Armageddon. Isn't that the same thing? I was like, I fucking hate everyone in this room. So.
Side note, though, is Die Hard your favorite Christmas movie?
It might be. I have really fond memories of A Christmas Story because as a kid, I used to walk into like a room. I was very young. This is like some of my earliest memories. And I just thought it was a really long movie. And I was like, why is this kid going to see fucking Santa again? He already said no. And I didn't realize that there's channels that play it all 24 hours.
Oh my god.
And I never realized that it ended and started again. I'm like, this fucking moron of a kid is putting his tongue on that light post again. So when I finally realized it was actually only 2 hours, I was like, oh, that's a pretty good movie. I like that movie.
DJ, what's your favorite Christmas movie?
Oh, shit.
On the spot, bro.
On the spot.
If you don't have one, just say you're Jewish.
Right.
No. I guess I don't know if I have a favorite, but I have one that I watch every year.
That counts.
With my sister, and it's the Mickey's. It's a Disney movie. It's it's something Mickey's Christmas, but it goes through like 3 different like mini shows. One's about like Donald Duck and his kids. One's about Mickey, and one's about Goofy. And I just watch, like, for some reason every year I always end up just watching with my sister. So I guess that would be my favorite one.
Right on. You got to get a title and let us know so we can not watch it.
Okay.
We'll pretend like we're going to, and then we won't. We all know that.
Yeah.
One thing I do have to say for my what I've been playing, we did a bunch of board games. In the Diaz household, we always wind up playing a bunch of board games for every holiday.
God. Here we
And
go.
my mom started out with Yahtzee, and she won every game we played, and she beat us all by our scores combined plus like 100. It was fucking insane.
She won
Oh
so
my
much
God.
that now whenever she does something successful in life, she'll just be like, Yahtzee!
Exactly. So that was brutal. And then after that, we played Catan, Boggle, Monopoly twice, and I think
You
one
guys
more
just
game.
played Rick and Morty Monopoly.
We did just play Rick and Morty Monopoly, which is super funny. And I won all those. So naturally, Robin hates me.
I just loved you guys saying the names of, what were they called?
Flooble cranks. The houses
Google
and
boxes?
the houses in Rick and Morty Monopoly are Flooble cranks, and
Flooble cranks.
I think, and then Google boxes are the hotels, and they're the crappiest little tokens you could ever imagine. They don't look like anything.
They look like people.
Yeah, they really do look like people, but all the tokens that you can play with are really fun. Like, they have the ship, they have the Mr. Meeseeks box, they have the badge from the Intergalactic Council of Ricks.
I just love, like, anytime, like, even the people that were out of the game, like, anytime you guys would say, like, that you needed another house or whatever, they just start giggling at the name.
It's like, can I buy 3 Flooble boxes, please? It's ridiculous. But yeah, 2017 undefeated champion of the world, Adam Diaz, for Thanksgiving.
Except
Woo!
for Yahtzee.
I don't count Yahtzee. My mom cheated. She obviously fucking had
She
weighted dice.
also nearly beat you in Monopoly. It was close.
It was
Came down to
close.
Diaz
It was a
versus
very
Diaz.
close game. The game before that, the first Monopoly game we played, it was me, Robin, and her sister. And I naturally landed on Boardwalk, and then the next roundabout, I landed on Park Place.
Wow.
So I put 3 houses on there, and they both landed on them like 3 times until
my
the game was.
God.
It was like a 45-minute game of Monopoly.
When we played Fallout Monopoly, no one landed on that shit. Like, it took me forever just to buy it.
Yep, it was insane. They were like, that was the fastest game of Monopoly I've ever played.
Jeez.
And I was like, I am
45
efficient.
minutes is pretty damn good.
Right? I was like, I am efficient in my destruction. Like, sorry about what just happened to you guys. But yeah, that's our recap of the Thanksgiving holiday and all the money we spent and all the games we played and the movies we watched and stuff. So good job. Yeah.
We did good.
Awesome. Go team. You guys can always let us know what you did for your Thanksgiving holiday or what you plan on doing for Christmas, or tweet at us and let us know your favorite Christmas movie. Because I would be really interested to see if there's anything in there that you guys watched that I also watched that I just didn't think about. So you can tweet at us nerd_chills.
I think my favorite Christmas movie is always going to be National Lampoon's
Really?
Christmas Vacation.
That's a really good one, too.
So good.
I love it when he spazzes out when he gets his bonus. And his bonus is garbage. It's such a good movie. Right on. I just realized I feel like an asshole because no one asked you what your favorite Christmas movie is.
That's okay.
Sorry about that. So we'll go into the big three, meow. CJ, what do we have for Microsoft news?
We have a couple lovely articles here. So the first one is our free games for the month of December, which is, I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like it's kind of lackluster, not as good as what I thought it could be, I guess. But through December 1st through December 15th on the Xbox One, or I guess Xbox 360, that is also backwards compatible, is the Child of Eden, which I have never played. I've heard some good things about it, so it might be something worth picking up and playing.
Is that Child of Eden? Isn't that a VR or not a Kinect title?
I do not.
I think it pairs with the Kinect, but you can play it without it.
I just find that so ironic. Like, Kinect is dead. Here's a Kinect game.
That makes sense. That's Microsoft in a nutshell.
Anyways.
But then we have through the 16th through the 31st, another Xbox One backwards compat is Marlowe Briggs and the Mask of Death.
I have no idea what
I don't know if you guys have played that one.
I've never even heard of it, so.
Might just have to be ones that we play just because we have no clue what they are. So, but then over on the Xbox One, on the December 1st through the 31st, we get Warhammer End of Times. And then December 16th through January 15th, we get Back to the Future 30th Anniversary Edition.
That could be fun to play, but just like as a once-off, I don't think I would ever like go back to it.
Back to the Future is my least favorite Telltale game, I think, possibly. But I also don't like the movies.
Did they have Jurassic Park Telltale?
No, they did Lego Jurassic Park, but not Telltale.
Okay, never mind then.
Whatever you're thinking of is wrong.
I don't know how the Back to the Future game would be.
It's cool if you like the series.
I guess. I do like the series. Back to the Future is awesome.
Yeah.
So that's what we have coming up for free games. If you don't want to spend any more money because you just spent everything on Black Friday, you have a couple games coming your way you can play.
Hopefully early in the year they'll do cool stuff. I feel like they typically do cool stuff for free in January because so many people get like Xbox Live and PSN for Christmas and they want to like show people what it's worth.
Right. Let's hope they pick something like, I don't know, worth playing and people want to go back to.
AAA.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to get a good, just a good title.
I really hope they give away Friday the 13th for free because I want more people to kill that don't know what they're doing at that game.
I think if anything they'll do free weekends, but I don't think they'll give it away for free. That's
Just give
crazy.
it to a bunch of fucking noobs. I think they'd have to fix the servers because that game is still kind of broken. So,
really?
Yeah, could you imagine if they just let everyone download it for free?
I would be.
Or like if they just turn around and said the next 10,000 people to download it and play the game.
Yeah, I'm sure that would help with all the issues that they're having with their servers not being able to handle the load.
I think it would just crash and be a terrible mistake.
I just want fresh blood in the game. That's all.
I just want them to add more costumes because I think it's kind of funny.
I agree.
Let's see. Article number 2 comes from the creators of Forza Horizon. They are...
Playground,
yeah. Couldn't think of it. I wanted to... Yeah, never mind. They are making a unannounced open world action game, so switching from cars to some sort of action game. Kind of covers a bunch of
it's
possible
like a
categories, but
giant
I would
genre.
imagine, considering how good the Horizon games have been, there's going to be some type of vehicle or driving in their game.
Yeah, honestly, when I saw this article, it reminded me a lot of how the Killzone guys switched over to create Horizon Zero Dawn, and they're like, yeah, we've done a first-person shooter, but let's do an open-world action game, and like we have a great premise. And I'm sure there's plenty of people on that team after making 3 Horizons that have tons of ideas, and they want to get those out there, so I'm excited to see when this gets announced.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. It'll obviously, I would imagine, it would be Xbox exclusive, so we'll get to hear that word at least one more time next year at E3.
Right. Hopefully it's not like launch window exclusive.
Yeah.
It's like, so it'll be out on PlayStation 2 days later.
But that is actually all the news I have in the world of Microsoft. We've kind of slowed down to a crawl over at the Microsoft office here.
I think it's just in general.
Yeah, it's the holidays where they're like, okay, everything we set in motion has been executed. Now let's just watch the numbers and see what happens.
Let's just hope it doesn't blow up in our face.
I can't wait for PlayStation Experience.
Really? It'll be nice.
Like some news.
But I just hope there's something new there and not just like, here's the third teaser trailer for The Last of Us 2. This time we're beating up a puppy. What are you going to do about it?
Or just more games coming out in 2019.
Right.
Yeah.
We shall see. But right on. Charlie, what do we got for Sony news?
So I only have a couple articles myself. The first one is just about how quickly they've been selling PS4s this past weekend. So the PS4 is down to $199, and it's supposed to continue into tomorrow for Cyber Monday. $199 for the core 1 terabyte.
And if you want to go shop at Walmart, I believe it was, the PS4 Pro is going to be discounted down to $350 instead of $400. I literally saw that and I was like, I just bought a fucking 4K TV.
Ours is
and
the same.
I'm going to be replacing my VR headset very soon. So that's 2 reasons why I want to get one.
I thought of you guys because I think the core PS or the core VR. Are you gonna call them? Because I mean, I know you guys are like close to your warranty time.
Yeah, I tried calling them and I stayed on hold for a really long time because I think PlayStation Network had some issue that same day. So I hung up, but I think I actually might be past my 1 year.
Oh man.
So if that happens, I have a feeling that it might be just as costly to replace it as it would be to just buy a brand new one. So
because I know that we have like the basic ones for $200 or something.
I'll have to make the call tomorrow and just put my phone on like silent mode and just wait for someone to pick up.
Right.
I thought about picking up a VR. Would it be? Do you think it's worth it?
I really like my VR, and there's games that are out now that I see, and I'm like, fuck, dude, I have to get this thing working so I can play it.
They have so much planned for it. Like, I don't know. I haven't played Elder Scrolls yet. I think that'll be like the big game.
That was like the
worth
one
playing.
thing.
I want to play Final Fantasy Monsters of the Deep. It's a fucking fishing game. That's so cool.
Yeah, that one does sound good too. But I was like, holy shit, Elder Scrolls. Like, it just kind of hit me. Like, I knew it was coming out, but I saw somebody streaming it the other day, so it kind of just hit me.
Yeah, I want to try that. I think that's going to be cool if it's like a full title with VR. But I don't know. They are definitely investing a lot in it. Anywho, so they've been selling a ton of PS4s. I know that we sold out of the ones we physically had in store literally like 2 hours into opening on Thursday.
Wow.
Like, it's
Nice.
been super crazy. It's super cheap, so go buy one. If you don't have one, it's definitely worth having, and they are so cheap.
I had a friend message me. He's like, do I need a PS4? I was like, yes. The answer is yes.
For $200, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he added me as a friend on PlayStation Network like 6 hours
It
later.
was like, I just needed someone to tell me yes.
I was like, that's so fucking awesome.
They said the Switch did really well too. I will say, like, we didn't sell a lot of Xboxes, and they
I'm
were
not
really
shocked.
cheap also. But yeah, a lot of people were asking about whether the X was on sale, and that was just like weird to me. People are dumb. But
It's like it just came
People
out,
are
guys.
always dumb.
It's like it's been out literally for 3 fucking weeks.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're talking about. I'm sure we won't have figures for a long time, but they are probably going to sell a ton. I would be shocked if they don't win November for hardware.
It'll be fun to see if it's going to be Nintendo
Yeah.
or PlayStation, because I feel like Nintendo's been selling really well for the month of November. PlayStation's probably going to sell the best for Black Friday.
Yeah, just for this weekend. And then my next piece of Sony news was just about them delaying the announce of that new Sucker Punch game, and how a lot of people were really worried about Sucker Punch because it had been so long since Infamous came out and they had announced anything. And they admitted that Sony wanted to wait because Sony admits that sometimes they announce things too early.
Wow.
And so they just wanted to make a conscious effort to wait so that they wouldn't be leaving such a large window, which I think is what we've been talking about this whole time. Like,
Right.
Sony has all these great games on the way, but they're so far away.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing, too, where it's like, when you're Sony, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Because if you
Yeah.
announce it early, everyone's like, that's what they're working on. Why'd they tell us? And if you don't, they're like, well, everyone's worried about Sucker Punch. What's going on? Is their game okay?
Yeah.
And it's like, people suck. And people are just going to find a problem in whatever scenario you decide to play out.
I wish everyone would just do it Bethesda style. Like, and all this stuff is out this year.
Yeah, this will be out in 6 months. This
So-
is out right now.
So it's cool that they're working on doing that better. I would be all for that.
Right.
Giving us something to be excited about that we'll see maybe within the next year is always fun. I don't have PS Plus titles yet because they are going to announce them probably next week. So that's pretty much my Sony news.
Right on.
Can't wait for PlayStation Experience again.
We need some stuff to talk about.
And we'll have Game Awards next week because it's on the 6th.
That's true. I'm super excited to watch
Yes.
that.
Me too.
So.
Be a fun episode when I get to brag about all my picks being correct.
I have a feeling there's a couple of them that you're definitely going to win on that we picked out of like personal preference and not who is probably actually going to win.
I don't know. He picked Destiny. If that's not personal preference, I don't know what is.
It's true to win.
I don't believe you.
Moving into the land of Nintendo news, I actually only have one article for Nintendo. However, it's very interesting. There's an analyst over at NPD. NPD is the source of all the news, source of all the numbers for how much stuff sells. They're the ones that report, like, hey, this is the console that sold the most. You have to basically pay them for the statistics. And if you know that you're not doing well, like, companies will skip a month. That's why sometimes Microsoft won't release their numbers for, like,
don't get it.
how much they sold, because they're like, we didn't win this month. We're not going to do it. But then the other company, like Nintendo, if they know they won, will buy the numbers and be like, hey, this is how much everyone sold. We're at the top. Fuck everyone. Mm-hmm. But they track them no matter what. So if, like, say Microsoft decided to skip 2 or 3 months, which wouldn't happen, they probably buy them anyways and just don't release them. They would still be told, like, this is what your stuff is doing as a lifetime sales type of thing. Anyways, there's an analyst over there, according to comicbook.com, named Matt Pescatella, that's predicting that if Pokemon releases for the Switch in the year of 2018, that it will, depending on what month it releases, be the top-selling console for every single month. And they say it will look similar to the launch of the Nintendo Wii, based off the projections of how much interest is in the game and in the Pokemon franchise. And when you hear something like that, it's like, why wouldn't you just do this? And it's,
they will.
Yeah.
and you know they're making it. They've already said they're making it, but it's like, get just a basic, simple Pokemon that just looks gorgeous out with
They would
basic
even sell a lot
multiplayer.
if they could just re-release some of the ones they've made on Switch. Like,
I
forget
was-
new games.
Thinking the other day of a game that I played on Wii, and it was just a virtual console only. It's like My Life as a King. It's Final Fantasy. It's basically like Sim City, but you send adventurers out on like quests and everything, and you're trying to defeat the Dark Lord. But you don't do anything. You're just like there to like build the kingdom and wait for people to come back. And it was really fun. And I was like, I wonder if I can still play that. And I don't know where to go get it. They made a sequel I didn't know about called My Life as a Dark Lord.
Probably Steam. I don't know.
It probably is only Steam.
Yeah, I would guess Steam for
But
sure.
it's like, if they could get this fucking virtual console up in 2018 and then release Pokemon, like, that would be so fucking great. It really would. So,
Do you think they come out with a Pokemon game good enough on the Switch to actually like win like a Game of the Year type award?
Oh man, I don't know.
it depends. Like, I think Game of the Year types usually go to stuff that's got a storyline.
I don't
or
think it'll be that
changes.
innovative.
Well, I'm gonna,
Yeah, it won't be innovative. Like Zelda, the reason it doesn't have a great story, but the reason people talk about it is because it's like the entire world is explorable, you know, or it's
Yeah.
like something nostalgic. So Pokemon does have that going for it. But if it's just like, this is exactly what we played on 3DS, but it's just prettier, probably not.
Probably, I don't see it happening, but that would be cool. I can't even picture what a Game of the Year Pokemon would look like.
I would be so
I would
happy.
think I would
to
feel like
actually
it would
talk
have to
about
be
it.
something that's like all the Pokemon games kind of like wrapped into one. Like you start in their first region and you make your way through all of them.
That would be incredible if they balance it where it's like you can keep leveling your Pokemon past a certain level, so you can go through the entire
Yeah.
fucking series.
What about like an open world, like with raids and shit, like Destiny style Pokemon? That I could see.
That would be epic.
Yeah.
That would be nuts.
Where
Like
it's like-
Pokemon Go meets regular Pokemon.
It's like there's a legendary Pokemon that just popped, and everyone fucking logs on
Yeah, like
wherever they are.
raids
You just
and
take your
stuff.
Switch out and connect and just log on.
The other thing I was thinking about was I was kind of thinking about this as more of like a DS feature, but I think it would be really cool if you were able to set up like your own gym system. So like if someone wanted, you wouldn't have to necessarily focus on multiplayer, but like say you had a friend who had Pokemon, they could set up a gym and you could just go and challenge your friend without actually having to be online. Because I know online for Switch isn't the best.
Right. That would be really cool to do, where you can go challenge other people's gyms and earn badges and shit
Yeah.
like that. That would be amazing. They could even set up like a tiered system, kind of like how Overwatch has like bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and like depending on how well you perform going through like pre-ranked matches or whatever, you could actually get into a league where people can build out their own gyms or build your own gym, and depending on how well your gym does, you can advance in ranking too.
I could see them doing something like that and releasing Pokemon every like so often and doing things to make it like replay value. I could definitely see them taking some elements from Pokemon Go and other open world like online based games. I mean, granted, they don't have the network to really support that a ton,
Right.
but there's a lot they could do that would appeal to Pokemon players, like people that play Pokemon Go. I wouldn't want to like have to take my Switch places, but it'd be cool to have like weekly things to do, weekly things to catch.
I don't like taking my Switch places either, and there's so many people I know with Switches that are like, dude, like I barely play at home. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like, I don't like lugging it around. They're like, oh, I take it to work and I play on my lunch break or I play in my car.
I don't do that, but I'll take it with me sometimes, like if I'm coming here or whatever. I don't know. I think it's, you remember that Nintendo survey they did where it was like 50-50, like half people only play docked, half people only play on the go.
Right, yeah.
Like you're just either one of those people or you're not.
It's so weird, but if they make a game that appeals to either or makes you want to take it with you, that way they can have the people that stay at home take it with them and the people that take it with them play whenever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
That would be fucking amazing, but we'll see what happens with it.
I hope they bring Street Pass to Switch. I love Street Pass.
I seriously think about that like every time I'm on the Switch.
Yeah, that would be a reason to take it places. That's how they bridge that gap to me, is to get those people. It's not about getting the people that take it everywhere to take it home and dock it.
It's about
like,
the people that
cares?
leave it at home to take it with them.
Exactly.
Honestly, like I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, if they had Street Pass for this, I would have bought Robin one already.
Oh yeah.
Just so we could Street Pass every day, and we could like sit around and play whatever mini games they cook up for it. But
you should make it so you can like earn the coins and spend them on games and stuff, like trophies and junk.
That would be so awesome. I already have 2 docks. I was thinking about getting a 3rd dock if it was on sale for the downstairs TV.
Third dock.
My store.
Hardcore Switch
I
fans
have a
only have
pre-owned one
3
at my
docks.
store.
I am literally going to come buy that. How much is it?
$70.
With my discount, $7 off, and I have a bunch of points. I could redeem coupons. That thing is going to be downstairs tomorrow. Right on. But that's everything I have for Nintendo news. So that's just us nerding out about what we want to see from Pokemon Switch, which would be amazing. Moving into additional news, we don't have a ton of stuff, and most of it is in the world of entertainment, so not everything is video game related. But I thought this article was really cool. It's sad that Robin is not on this episode. Because she talks a lot about like how much representation matters to her growing up and stuff like that. Kelly Marie Tran is the actress who is going to be in The Last Jedi. She was considering quitting acting completely, and this is the second time I've read an article in the last 2 weeks. The last one was about Gal Gadot and how close she was to quitting acting. She was in like the Fast and the Furious movies.
She's like beautiful.
She's beautiful, but she was typecast a bunch, and she had to like basically act in the same part repeatedly. And the way that Hollywood was working was. It sounds a lot like she was going through all the stuff that you would think you'd go through if you wanted to land a job for Harvey Weinstein, where it's like, this is the role that you're going to have to get, and these are all the things that you're going to have to do, and nothing like sexually harassing, but it's like, this sucks, like I hate this. And then she got Wonder Woman, and now she's fine, you know. Kelly Marie Tran was basically just an unknown Asian actress who could never land a lead role because she's Asian, and was always like vying for things that were super stereotypical. And she was not having a good time trying to like live out this dream. And now she's in Star Wars The Last Jedi. And because she's been in a few of the trailers, the Asian community has responded so much, so overjoyed to have representation in the film, that like her toy is like the best-selling toy.
Wow.
And like every time they release anything with her, it's just being bought up so much. And it's like, this is why representation matters. And she's talking about in the article how much it means to her, and how much the movie's not even out yet. And the movie... It doesn't have any like early reviews, and how people have just like rallied behind her, and like this is like being in this film and seeing the response that she's getting from the community has just been so such a great experience, that like her career is back where she wants it to be, even if it doesn't mean a whole lot for her. It's just like knowing that people out there want to see them be represented makes you want to keep trying.
I think it's cool because I remember when Rogue One came out. Was it Rogue One? Yeah. Where like there was so much kind of negative press about Rey and Finn.
That's
some of which
Force Awakens.
Force Awakens, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Some of which was like, I think, trolling a little bit, but you know, there was a ton of questions about like having a black lead or a female lead.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of cool that this is like positive, because I remember there were a bunch of issues, and then there were situations where they didn't make toys for them, and people were like, why aren't there toys for them? And it was kind of controversial, and this is just happy news.
Yeah, I think we actually reported it on one of the first Nerd Chills ever, people talking about how they were going to boycott Force Awakens, because it was a female lead and a black lead. I had someone come into my GameStop at the time, and they're like, "Yep, they're gonna have fucking black guy do the lead. John Boyega is gonna carry this fucking film, my ass." And he walked out. I was like, "Have a good day, sir." And then you watch the movie, and it's like, "Oh, that movie was really fucking fun. I loved everything about it, and the things I didn't like had nothing to do with him being black or her being a female."
Black guy.
And it's also the highest grossing opening weekend of all fucking time. Great job with that boycott, guys.
Yeah.
So it's like, why is it so
did
bad
great.
for people to understand that it's like, I want to see someone that looks like me on screen,
Yeah.
that's not a bad guy or not stupid, that's just a normal human being. I want to see how I would be represented if I was in this film. So if I want to see Star Wars, I want to see someone that looks like me that would act like I do. Mm-hmm. And I get excited when I watch characters that it's like, that's what I would have said too. That's when I start saying things like, I really like that movie, or I really like that character, or that's really good writing. And when you have stuff that shows up where it's like, oh, look, that character kind of looks like me, and they're like, bling, bling, it's like, I would never fucking say that. No one that looks like me would ever fucking say that. Why is this guy saying that?
Bling,
Oh, because writers are fucking stupid, and stereotypes are bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's when people start getting frustrated. And it's like, they're not going to have jokes in Star Wars The Last Jedi, let's hope not, about like, Finn and this chick, I don't even know her fucking character's name, like, are going to go somewhere, and it's like, well, we can't let you drive, Space Asian. It's like, that's the sort of thing that I think people want to see.
Oh, God.
If you're already represented, you're like, oh, I don't care, I think that stuff's funny. But when it's like, that's you being represented, if you were to watch your whatever it is, like however you want to be represented, if you were to watch it be represented wrong all the time or just not at all, you'd be like, well, this fucking sucks. And you'd get excited if you finally saw someone represented the right way. So
Yeah.
I love reading these articles. They're, I don't know, they're chicken soup for the soul. So it's a really cool article. You should check it out. If you don't give a shit, that's fine. But for someone who's grown up as a minority, it is really cool to see minority characters pop up on the screen and have actual big roles.
And do well.
And do well. And it's like they're acting like
Yeah.
a normal human being, and they don't have to go through any of the stereotypical bullshit to make people be like, oh, yeah, now they're acting like the Asian I know.
It's cool that the last 3 Star Wars have really done that, because Diego Luna was in Rogue One, and then a female character for Rogue One also.
Yeah.
So all the
Yeah.
last 3 have had a good representation.
Yeah, they didn't start out, the Star Wars franchise did not start out well, because pretty much every actor in the entire movie was white.
Except for Lando.
And that's why they put Lando in the second one. It's because people came out and they're like, minorities don't give a shit about Star Wars because they're not represented in it at all. And then they put Billy D. Williams in as Lando, and people are like, oh shit, let's go see this.
We forgot about that.
And that's
guy.
what happened in fucking episode 1. They're like, there's no minorities in this. Like, there's a few, but most of them that sound like Asians are aliens.
Yeah.
Like, that are morons. And they, like,
So then-
put up a trade embargo. So then what happens when the second one comes out? They get Samuel L.
Mace
Jackson
Windu.
to be Mace Windu, exactly. So it's nice that they're not repeating the same mistakes again.
Do you think that has something to do with the Disney influence? Because Disney is kind of like that. I mean, they have
A wide
diversified
variety.
their Disney princesses, and they've really tried to appeal
Yeah.
to all audiences
I
over
think
the last decade or so.
that George Lucas, when he was starting to go through it, was starting to realize it more and more. But I think Disney's like,
Diversity.
pay the fuck attention to who you're casting, because there's a lot of people that are like good to go. And I think what happens is people write roles based off of like what they think based off other characters. So when you have something that's completely whitewashed and you're moving forward to like, this new character will look just like that other character but just act slightly differently, and they're like, no, think outside the box, have it be an original character from a different planet that's not an alien that sounds like a different race. Just have it be a different race. If humans exist in this universe, you're allowed to have other races of humans exist in this universe. So it's nice to see the representation thing popping up again, and hearing what an inspiration it's been for just one person who was really down on their luck and being like, I want to keep trying again. So it's a fun stuff. Moving on to the next one. This is regarding, I really, really like this. CD Projekt Red, who are the creators of The Witchers 1, 2, and 3. They were currently working on Cyberpunk 2077. Someone asked them, and I think it was in a tweet, regarding the games as a service model and what they're going to be doing and if they're going to be incorporating it into their next game, Cyberpunk 2077. And their tweet back was, and this is their official tweet, worry not. When thinking Cyberpunk 2077, think nothing less than Witcher 3, huge single-player, open-world, story-driven RPG. It continues to say, no hidden catch, no you get what you pay for bullshit, just honest gaming like with the Wild Hunt. We'll leave the greed to others. It's like, they're not calling out anyone specifically, but they are just saying, like, we're not going to do that because that is bullshit, and we're not fucking greedy. And they totally could. Their DLC pack for their season pass for Witcher is longer than most games.
Yeah.
It's like 25 to 30 hours if you play it, and like that's longer than just about every game that I've played, including like Shadow of Mordor and all that fun stuff I played this year.
I mean, they make extra content, but they make it worth it, and they don't just make DLC or paid content just to make money or just to like sell you the second half of your game, and that's nice.
Right.
A few companies left doing that.
It's fun to see them come out and be like, we're not going to fucking do that because that's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And not pull the punches on how they want to say that too. So, moving on to more Star Wars news. This isn't as happy of Star Wars news.
Video game Star Wars news.
Video game Star Wars news. Battlefront 2 physical sales are down 60% in comparison to Battlefront 1. They don't, in this article, account for the increase in digital sales, which has gone up across the board.
Right.
But 60% is staggering, considering this has a single player, which was everyone's biggest complaint.
I know, that was what everyone wanted.
And they were saying there wasn't enough in Battlefront 1 for the multiplayer, and there's more in this one for the multiplayer. It's like, yes, but it's just this whole loot box thing has gone out of control.
Now there's no paid content.
It's absolutely destroyed the physical sales, and it's kind of baffling to see. I listen to a lot of video game podcasts. I was telling Charlie this before the show, and one of the guys has the same opinion as me, where it's like, this is when fans destroy a franchise by bitching about something that's not that big of a problem. And now that they've removed the pay to win from the game, where it's just like, okay, you play, you grind, you get your shit. There's no way that you can skip ahead. We're not going to let you buy loot boxes anymore. In less than 20 hours, he unlocked everything there was to unlock.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't fucking want that. Like, I want Battlefield 3 style progression where it's like, I have to work my ass off, and after like 10 to 15 hours of using the same gun, I can unlock some of the accessories or maybe the next gun or playing a specific class.
Yeah.
And that shit's gone. Like, because of the way they roll back how much everything costs, it's going to be much harder to balance it again. And now that the game's sales are down, it doesn't bode well.
It's going to be hard for them to put money into balancing it if they're not selling the game.
The one thing that might be nice is they might want to prove that they can do that by investing money into a product that didn't do well during launch. And I would say that because there's an article circulating, there's all these rumors around a phone call that took place between the head of Disney and the head of EA. Mm-hmm. And that's when, directly after that, they decided to get rid of the loot boxes being purchased with real money because Disney has publicly come out and said since then how disappointed they are with how EA handled the entire situation.
Yeah, I mean, we all knew that was going to happen, where EA was going to be in jeopardy of losing their rights to this game or this franchise.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where if they put enough pressure on EA, and EA obviously wants to keep the license, they might want to do whatever it takes to keep the game moving forward.
Yeah.
And I think it's something like Rainbow Six Siege, where the game's been out for maybe 2 years now, and it's still in the top 10. It's still doing better and better and better because they want it to be in the competitive scene, and they're investing lots of money into it. They'll try and figure out something that they can do to perpetuate the sales. So
it's not going to be what they want, but I'm sure if they toss it on sale or if they do free play weekends or something, then they can gain
That's what I think they need to do. They definitely need to start with free play weekend.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah.
They need to get more people interested in playing the game.
Just
and
make people try it.
Yeah, it's like have them see it without having to go through the whole, oh, everyone's pissed off about this before you play it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we fixed it. Come and play it. Like, this is our apologies to the gaming community. If you were hesitant about buying it before, you get to play it for a free weekend and see if you like it or not.
Yeah.
And that could get them back on board. And I don't think they're really at risk of Disney pulling the license from EA in anytime soon. But if they fuck something else up with the Star Wars franchise, then it's going to be like all hands on deck. We've really fucked up twice now. And they're going to find another developer or another publisher to handle these games.
To fix it.
So we'll see what happens with it, but that sucks.
So then the question becomes, who would you want to pick up the license?
Fuck. I honestly don't know. I really like how DICE handled everything with Battlefield, but their publisher is still EA.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of people that handle first-person shooters outside of EA publishing it that I would really trust. Like maybe Bungie, but they're too busy with Destiny, and it would be a very different feeling game. So I don't know.
Activision.
I don't trust Activision.
No.
Everything they do is so fast-paced. Maybe Bethesda. That would be fucking incredible.
That would be amazing.
I would love to see a Bethesda Star Wars game. That would be
crazy.
awesome.
I don't know how well it would I don't know how well the gameplay would be, but it would look awesome.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. There would definitely be a really deep hook to get you to come back. Open world, Fallout style, shooter, multiplayer from Bethesda.
That'd be crazy.
Please do that. Okay, I like this. Good idea. So I'll just send this over to everyone that works at Disney and Bethesda. We'll get this to happen. No big deal.
All right.
So next thing is in the world of comic books. This is something I'm actually really excited about. We talked about Michael Bendis moving over into the DC world.
Oh my god.
And there's a new series that's out right now called Doomsday Clock, which is a merger of Watchmen and DC characters, because they basically are in the same universe, and it's all boiling down to a confrontation between Dr. Manhattan and Superman.
That's cool.
And it's getting these incredibly good reviews. Jeff Johns is finally back in writing comics. They had put him in head of the DC extended universe, the cinematic universe, so he could start trying to have events like they used to have in comics.
Yeah.
And these reviews that have been going around for this first issue of this event are just phenomenal. People are saying it's setting up one of the greatest storylines that we've seen in comics in recent years. And it's really cool to see this coming across, because Justice League didn't do so well. It's at $400 million worldwide right now, which means they're going to make back their money, which is great, but they want to see a true level of success. And now that there's all this enthusiasm back in the comics, maybe you can start getting people really invested into storylines that you can eventually bring to the cinema. Because, Civil War was not that old when they brought it in and had it be the third Captain America movie.
Yeah.
And that's basically Avengers 2.5. So it'll be really cool to see what they do with it, especially now that they have Bendis over there and they have Jeff Johns writing again. So I'm super excited about it. So I don't know, CJ, I know you used to read a lot of comics when we used to live down in Arizona. Are you thinking about picking this up at all?
Probably, just as if it's a whole new fresh series, so it'll be easy to get in on. Sometimes comic books I read reviews on, and then I feel like sometimes it's just too late to jump in. So considering all the pre-release reviews that it's getting, it might be something that it's worth picking up.
Right on. Yeah, I think I'm going to get a pull box at Maximum Comics and get this start getting dropped in there, because it sounds awesome.
I hate how small comic books are. I'll wait for the anthology.
Wow. It's fun to follow if they come out weekly, and they're actually pulling the ones that you need to do if it travels through different comics.
Yeah, that's true.
I do understand that waiting for it to come out where it's all just one graphic novel
makes it a lot easier.
Charlie, did you want to take the next couple ones? Because I know you dropped them in.
Oh, well, my phone is dead. But I know the next one was about
PVZ.
Plants vs. Zombies. So I don't know how to present this article. When I first put it in there, I thought I was going to be presenting it as an article about EA potentially letting go of a game director who was against their freemium model of game design. And then it turned into an article where they're now disputing that and saying that they closed the studio, or the what's the word I'm looking for? The branch of their studio in that area, and that they laid him off, and it was a hard decision, but ultimately they laid off the people from that studio.
Wasn't it the creator of Plants vs. Zombies?
Yes, it was the creator, not the director.
And he didn't agree with what they were going to be going for Plants vs. Zombies 2.
That was what a friend of his had said, or a coworker of his had said in this original article that I think was posted through Kotaku, that he didn't agree with their pay-to-play or pay-to-win system, which Plants vs. Zombies does have a little bit of that. They have, card packs that you open that give you new items and abilities, and
very similar to loot boxes and how they're playing out right now.
Yeah. I don't think it's ruined the game. I can tell you that I've played a lot of that game, and I don't there's no part of it that I don't enjoy, and I haven't spent any money. But that was the original article, and then EA basically said that wasn't true, so now it's kind of I don't know, we were talking about before the show, I feel like it's kind of, once again, Kotaku trying to make something big out of something
small.
Yeah.
Or non-existent.
Taking a controversial statement and making it a whole article out of it as if it's gospel, and then having to roll it back when other things come out. But the problem is, once you do that, it's done.
Right.
So many people read that and don't read the update. Then, if I hadn't saved it, I wouldn't have read the update. We wouldn't be talking about it now.
I heard about it on Kind of Funny Games Daily. They were talking about it, and then the other article came out while they were on air, which was the game developer, the actual game director for Plants vs. Zombies 2 who took over the project, was this was never, in dispute. This was always what we were going to do. It wasn't him saying, I don't want to do that, and them letting him go. None of that happened. That's, a narrative that's being painted by someone who has no idea what happened. He's and I was on this project while he was here and while he wasn't here, and this is what we were starting with, and this is what we finished with.
Yeah.
It's so that's bullshit. And I don't know. I just think it's one of those things where it's let's all dogpile on EA because everyone's pissed off about loot boxes and pay to win, and it's what's topical in everyone's minds, and someone wants to come out and just say like, yeah, they fired my friend because of this, and he did this and this and this. And it's like, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who have legitimate grievances, but in this case, it's like, when you do that and you shit on what was actually created, there's people out there who created it.
Yeah.
And if they come forward and they're like, that's not fucking true. And that's super frustrating when it's like, well, people believe the first thing they hear. And if they're not paying enough attention to care to hear anyone else's take on it, it's like, that's pretty fucked up.
I'm not one for defending EA, but it always bothers me it bothers me whenever I hear someone talking about this situation like it's new.
Right.
Like, yeah, I don't know if you heard all that news, Star Wars and loot boxes, and I guess it's kind of like gambling. And I'm like, where have you been? Have you been in a fucking dark hole for your last 5 years of your life? Like,
with this one, I think it's like,
were you frozen?
I had people saying that don't play games that are like, oh, they're talking about how the EA franchise ruined Star Wars for video games. But the articles they're sending me to tell me that are from CNN.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's because you don't like pay attention to any of the like gaming media outlets. And now that this is so big, it's crossed over into like just normal news where it's like CNN, like World News is talking about like local like game publisher. It's like local, like you mean worldwide game publisher, like makes slight mistake that fans blow out of fucking proportion.
Like when people say this to me, I'm just like, yeah, it's crazy, right? Do you play Overwatch? Do you play Grand Theft Auto?
Loot
do you
boxes
play like
and all that
any
shit.
of this fucking
Shadow
stuff?
of War? Like Shadow of War had it too.
Do you play any game? Because if you play any multiplayer game, you've probably experienced this already. It is not news.
Right. It's definitely one of those things where you're like, you know what? Fuck you guys. So it's frustrating when people don't want to follow up on a story and see what the actual result is.
Yeah.
So the next one was the other one you dropped in there regarding PUBG. This one's super interesting.
Yeah, this is an odd story, I think, and I haven't seen a lot of companies do this. So Tencent, the company that owns PUBG.
Sure. I'm taking your word for it.
I believe so.
I've already closed the article, so.
This is it. They talked about how they're breaking into the Chinese market. They're going to release the game in China. In order to do so, they have to adhere to some stipulations, which means it's like the values of China. And they have to basically add some level of propaganda to the game. And I will say their stock skyrocketed. Like, them and Facebook were like the highest stocks in the past week or so.
Yeah, as soon as you're like, we're going to be able to release this to a market of like 1.8 billion people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just shoots through the fucking roof.
So I can definitely understand the appeal. I was just surprised to see that they were putting propaganda into their game. And it was pretty, like, vague stuff. But it was, like, stuff about, like, nationalism. And it just seemed...
CJ has been replaced with a cat.
But yeah, I find it so weird that they're willing to do that, and kind of sad that they're willing to do that, but I understand it's a huge opportunity for them also. But I tried to look it up, and like no other game has done this.
Right.
Very few do. There are some games that have just been created as propaganda essentially in China, like made by people from China, but nothing that's like they're recreating or changing a game to fit the values of China.
Yeah, when I first heard about this, it was before that they had added in the propaganda. The first article that I had read regarding it was that PUBG was not going to be allowed to be released in China because the idea behind socialism is that everyone works together towards a common goal and it's a team effort, and it's kind of the opposite of what PUBG is, because PUBG is a free-for-all where one person's left standing, and they didn't like the premise of the game because it's so anti-socialist. And the categories. But they had told creators of PUBG, like, there's certain things that they can do. There's specific things that they can do where if they put this in, despite the fact that it is a 100-player free-for-all, where everyone's out just to win for themselves, adding in specific levels of propaganda would make it releasable. And they're like, whatever, fuck it. And they're just putting it in there so they can release it to a giant market of people who are most definitely going to play it, and who still won't be better than the Koreans, so it doesn't even fucking matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird. I just couldn't imagine doing that. If I was a game creator, I'd be like,
Can you really not imagine someone being like, our giant, massive market of 1.8 billion people that all want to play your game for, like, whatever it is, like $50, $60 for early access. It's like, all you have to do is put in this banner that's just for our country's version. You don't have to propaganda anyone else.
I guess.
I would totally do it, and I'd be like,
Really?
sure. And then in my version for my country, I'd be like, propaganda is bullshit. I like have anti-banners in it just because it's like, fuck it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I understand like that artistic vision of like, are you really going to sell out like your political beliefs and like your culture to make money?
Yeah, it's once again though like business, video games becoming more of a business.
Right.
And there are a lot of people that own video games that are just business people. Like they're just invested in video games. It's
They're the
not
ones
a
that make
passion
decisions
for them.
that fuck up games.
Yeah.
They're like, that's kind of what happens in stuff like Star Wars Battlefront 2, where you're playing the story and you're like, this kind of sucks. It's because someone came in and they're like, oh, you need to have Chewbacca in there. He's well known. You need to have Luke in there. You need to have Leia in there. It's like, well, we have this new... You need to have Jar Jar in there. It's like, well, we have this new character and she has a really compelling storyline and she's playing from the dark side perspective because, you know, there's like two sides to every story and like some of these planets actually rely on the Empire to keep peace in their planet. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. When's Lando showing up? It's like, fuck you, man. Like, I'm trying to tell a story here. So I think that happens regardless. Like, you're going to have to compromise your artistic vision.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're going to have to do it, it's just one of those, like, moral decisions. And it's something for me where I'm like, I can sit here and say in my chair, like, if I developed a game, I'd tell China to go fuck themselves. But at the same time, it's like, I don't think people that say they care about, like, our views as a culture in America are really telling the truth anymore. Like, the last few years have been really revealing. It's like, oh, well, this is why I act the way I act. It's for this really pure value. And then, like, you actually get tested and it's like, oh, I was just fucking kidding completely. I just hate the alternative, so I'm willing to let anything else happen.
Yeah.
So I think that's just kind of where our culture's at right now, where I'm just like, oh, they put up a banner. Whatever, man. They're going to make billions of dollars off of it. So I can't really judge them from my fucking my chair. But
Yeah.
I do, because they did
Makes me
compromise.
sad.
Yeah, it's a little bit depressing.
Like, we've come so far in video game culture. Video games used to literally just be about passion of making in games and for telling a story.
Right.
And it was something where you were a nerd or a weirdo if you liked it or did it. And now it's like a huge business. And more people go into it for the business aspect of it.
Yeah.
And that is so foreign to me.
The real question to me is Fortnite going to do this? Because if not, maybe I should just play Fortnite instead.
Oh, man.
So I wonder, I wish I had someone who I knew that worked for Fortnite to get their take on it. And be like, so is your game getting released in China? Are you being forced to put propaganda into it? I'll tweet at them. I'll use the official Nerd Chills account.
There you go.
And we'll see what they say, which will be nothing. So, only a few pieces of additional news left. Jude Law, who we've talked about previously for being cast as young Dumbledore, who most people don't seem to like but me, because I'm just like...
Younger Door. I can't
Younger Door?
Younger Door.
Younger
Door.
We'll work on that, guys. We promise. He was just cast as the male lead opposite Brie Larson for Captain Marvel,
Wow.
which is kind of cool. And I don't know.
Blondes everywhere.
Yeah, it's...
The whole movie's blonde.
They're running out of AAA or AA or just regular A actors to cast in fucking Marvel movies.
That's so sad.
So I'm just I think Brie Larson is the perfect pick for Captain Marvel.
I think they should just fuck it all up. Be like Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth is all these characters. It'd be fucking great. They should bring in Liam Hemsworth at some point and have him play a character that's
He's
just
blonde
the
Tom
strongest.
Hiddleston.
God. But yeah, so he's been cast in yet another thing, and I'm sure fans will hate this casting as they do everything else that Jude Law gets cast as far as I'm concerned. But not everyone's attached to this character, so we'll see what winds up happening with it. But yeah, another Jude Law casting since this is the Jude Law podcast.
I'm really trying to think of other blonde actors. Owen Wilson. That's
Oh my god. He'd just be saying wow the whole time. Wow.
I can't think of anybody. There are no young blonde actors in Hollywood.
They've cast them all as superheroes at this point in the Marvel universe. I just hope that at the end of Infinity War, everyone gets killed and he resets the universe. And it's like, let's start over. And then you can have your new Iron Man since Robert Downey Jr. is 70 years old. And then your new Logan.
They're going to ruin it.
70.
Like, it's going to need a reboot at some point. And I don't know how the fuck they're going to handle it. So
It's going to be rough. I think that's where you could see the switch. Like DC takes the lead, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be nice to see because they've kind of already rebooted all their shit, and they started brand new with Man of Steel, where they're like, "Here's our Superman. Now we're gonna build the rest."
Yeah,
but we'll see what happens with it. One of the last pieces of news here is regarding the UK weighing in, the Gambling Commission on loot crates and their illegality. They do state that they're legal, and again that they cite that you're using your money to purchase something, and regardless of whether or not you get what you want, you are going to get something.
Yeah.
Similar to trading card packs and how they've always been viewed, and they're not gambling, but it is a slippery slope. And they do say there is blurred lines because there needs to be regulation on whether or not players can actually obtain the things that they're buying. So if you have like a 0.001 drop percent rate, it needs to actually be consistent, and it needs to be reported to like a gambling commission or someone that can keep track of it, because there has been instances of the past where, especially with cell phone developers, they've said that you can get some sort of rare or epic card if you just pay to win, and they actually had no chance or a significantly less chance than they were informed, and that is completely illegal. So...
Yeah, that's real bad.
I think that most people are realistic about those things, and I don't know. I've never been into gambling, so I feel like I'd have to have a gambler's take on this, but like I can imagine the rush you would get from almost winning a large amount of money, and I don't think that anyone would get that from opening a pack of cards, or like I just can't imagine that same feeling. And I've talked to people who play MLB specifically pretty avidly, where you can get like a diamond player if you do certain packs, but like they've told me that you get like the lowest ranked diamond player, so they've gotten that one like 10 times. Like, to me, that's just not the same rush when there's like almost a guarantee you're not going to get what you are looking for,
right?
Or there's such a low chance you're going to get what you're looking for. I just don't see how it could be compared to gambling, because people just don't maybe see how low of a chance they have to win in gambling, or they get a little bit of what they want.
Yeah, like every game is designed within a casino to take your money from you. Yeah. Where like I think the best odds in a casino are either roulette or blackjack, and it's like 1 to 25.
Yeah,
it's like for every 25 times you play, you're going to lose 24, and people will still get addicted to it and still gamble.
Yeah,
and it's like the difference is doing that, you lose and you lose and you lose and you lose.
Or you lose a little and then you win a little. Like there's a little bit of ebb and flow.
But each interaction, the odds are specifically designed for you to walk away with nothing.
Yeah.
And in the case of loot cases or trading cards or whatever the case may be, you're always going to get something. Mm-hmm. And like I play Battlefront and I get a free loot crate every time I log in, every day, a daily loot crate. And you open it up and it's almost always something I already have, and it gets converted into crafting points, which I can use to advance the level of stuff that I currently have. Mm-hmm. So it's always working towards a goal, even if it's not as quickly as I want. But there have been instances in my daily loot crate where I've gotten a power-up that's pretty powerful, and I'm like, I equipped that right away. And that's cool. And I'm totally okay with that. So it's I know that there's a distinct difference in my mind, but without speaking with a gambling addict who also games, I don't know how similar those two things would be, or how easy it would be for that to trigger their addiction. I do agree that it just needs to be on a label the same way it's on cell phone games. Like there is in-app purchases that do alter this gaming experience. Have something like that on your ESRB rating label. As a follow-up to this article, actually, Wade posted this in the Discord. There was a politician from Hawaii who weighed in on this, speaking about how he views loot boxes and how, let me get this right, it's predatory behavior is the quote that was used in the headline of the article, regarding how the business model is set up to specifically lure people into buying stuff because it's so much quicker than earning it, because there's so many obstacles in front of you to do it that way.
How much of that is just them taking advantage of our culture, though? Like nowadays, that's what everybody wants.
I think it's completely taking advantage of a culture that's been bred into us, where it's everyone has a short attention span, and everyone's about...
They'd rather spend money to possibly get ahead than work for it.
Yeah, and it's about instant gratification. It's like everyone wants stuff absolutely right now, and no one wants to work for anything. No one wants to work towards something or build. Like when I earned my fucking Night Elf mount in World of Warcraft, I probably grinded for 1,000 fucking hours. So many hours from when I started playing and realizing, like, hey, I can get a cat instead of a horse to ride if I save this shit. Yeah. And then I got to endgame content, and while everyone else is doing raids, I was going into fucking like level 55 raids on my own and camping one specific type of cloth and going in there and doing it over and over and over and over and over. And anytime I saw cheap cloth in the auction house, I'd buy it because I could trade that cloth in at the Night Elf place for reputation. And it took me fucking forever, but I finally got the cat, and I could ride around on my kitty cat, and I was like, fucking sweet. And people would see it, and they'd be like, how did you get that? And I'd tell them, like, oh, I grinded like 20,000 stacks of rune cloth. And they're like, how? And it's like, it's all I did for like the last month. And I was so proud of myself. And it's a lot of wasted time. And looking back and even talking about it, I'm like, what the fuck did I have all that time? Like, what could I have done with my life besides that? But if they would have put in an option, you could either do that or pay $1,000 and get it. There's someone that would have rode by me with it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd have been like, he probably didn't fucking grind for it.
Yeah.
And if I would have rode by someone, they would have been like, he probably paid $1,000 for that.
I feel like they should at least incentivize working for it. They should do something different. I don't know how they would differentiate those people, but I feel like they should.
Yeah, I agree.
Most, a lot of games kind of do nowadays. Like I know when I was playing Smite for a while, they would always release like these dual skins for the characters, and one you earn through whatever little story they made you play through or your whatever little mission, and then there was a different colored skin that you bought. So like that's kind of how you knew,
cool. Like a cosmetic difference between people who pay for it and people who don't. Like that's what I've always felt that they should differentiate is like if like say Clash Royale or Clash of Clans, like back in the day when we all used to play that, and that one kid walked into GameStop and he had like the highest level walls and the highest level everything because his dad would spend $100 or $200 on Google Play cards for him every time he came in the store. And it's like, I wish that his walls that were like skulls that shot the souls of the weak at you, I wish that his walls were a different color than mine. So when I get there, people know I didn't pay for mine. I fucking earned it. Because then they'd be even like more scared. Like, oh, this guy not only has those, but he knows how to use it.
He knows what he's
doing. Because I'm
doing.
playing Clash Royale right now, and they have 2 versus 2 battles in there. And when I play with people, because my level's pretty high, they show you your partner's deck. So you know, like, oh, our decks match up really well, and you kind of figure out, like, when he drops that, I'll drop my card.
Yeah.
And then I realize when I'm playing it, so many people don't know what the fuck these cards do, and they're playing at such a high level because they probably got a $100 Google Play card and just bought shit.
That's crazy.
And I'm just like...
And just bought a bunch of
it's like,
cards.
the other character played someone who explodes. They're really easy to kill, but when they die, they do massive amounts of damage to everything around them. So you just use a single card. You use something that just comes out, so it's one character. Mm-hmm. And they drop, like, the Skeleton Army, which is, like, 50 really low-level like skeletons that are really good against a single target because they can just murder it all at once. But anything that does AoE damage just kills them off right away. And they'll use it against the wrong target, and you're like, you don't know what that does.
Yeah.
Like, and then someone will play an air card, and their defense is to play a card that can't attack the air. And you're like, you don't know what that card does either. Like, you don't know any of the cards in your fucking deck or how to play them. And it's just like, that's what happens when you have a fucking model that's, you can pay to win, or you can play to get there, and you play with people and you're like, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like, you have no idea what your cards are. And I really want to trade decks with them sometimes because their cards are so much better than mine.
Like, spending money doesn't mean that you know what you're doing or that you have any skill.
It's like when you bought accounts on World of Warcraft. Like, if someone told us joining our guild back in the day, like, oh yeah, I bought this card, or I bought this account, and they're a healer or a tank, you'd kick them out of the fucking clan. Or the guild, or whatever you called it. Because it's like, so you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't spend 80 levels leveling up to learn all those abilities and what you should do and how everything works best. Like, you paid $100 on fucking eBay and bought someone else's account. You have no idea what you're doing, and you're expecting to play at the highest level because your character is that level.
Yeah.
And you have no player knowledge regarding it. So, like, that's what makes me upset about loot boxes. It has nothing to do with triggering gambling addictions. It's like, you didn't earn that. You didn't earn the knowledge that goes along with it. So it's like, you're not going to be... You're not going to be what your level is representing or what your fucking character looks like. It's like, it's just...
Not going to be the very best.
Right.
Bro.
It's a sham. It's like, oh, I did this because I wanted to be the best, but really I'm just like... It's like buying a fucking Ferrari that doesn't have an engine in it. And someone's like, let's go for a ride. You're like, whoa, bro, can't do that. I paid the money for this, though. It's like, why? Why would you ever fucking do that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my rant for that. So, fuck them.
Good job.
That is the end of additional news, so we can move right along into the topic of the show, or main topic, or whatever we call it here. This is something that I want to say and preface with. We're not taking any stances politically by getting into this. I don't care if you're a Democrat, or a Republican, or a Libertarian, or a fucking alien, or you worship Lord Xenu, or whatever the case may be. However, if you're listening to this, you probably downloaded the podcast, or clicked on it on Facebook, or went to YouTube, or any other way that you can access information through the wonderful World Wide Web, or your cell phone, or whatever the case may be. And there is a
I don't think that's a probably. I think that's like
It's a definite,
guaranteed.
yeah. But there is something that's happening right now regarding what you've probably heard of net neutrality. And most people that I talk to have no idea what the fuck it is or what the
Really?
fuck's going on with it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it's like, okay,
It's
well,
terrifying.
we're going to explain to you in very simple terms what's going on, what net neutrality is, and why you should be like, well, that's fucked up. And we're going to try and do it as simply as possible. And regardless of where you stand on the political spectrum, I think everyone that uses the internet should right now be worried, not like, oh my God, my life's going to change, but like, hey, that's fucking bullshit, and that shouldn't be allowed. And if you think that, you do have a voice, especially in our country, to call a senator or a congressman or sign a petition or show up at a rally and be like, fuck you guys, like, we will vote your ass out. Because I don't give a fuck who it is. I do not care personally. This is me saying Adam Diaz, not representing anyone else, but I do not care what party you are from. If you believe in charging people the way they want to, if they are able to repeal net neutrality, you fucking suck. And you're probably going to be profiting off of it, and fuck you for that. So I think Charlie can get into the issue and explain it a little bit. And then I'll give you what I consider the dumbed down version of it that helps me understand for all of us that aren't as smart as Charlie. So,
Oh God.
go ahead and take it over.
Yay.
This, so net neutrality is basically the fact that no one can change individually. Your internet service provider cannot decide what websites are going to be faster or slower. You have to create the same service, the same level of service and speed for every website on the internet. And if we get rid of net neutrality, it will mean that your internet service provider can charge companies or websites individually to have a faster speed or a slower speed, or they can affect what they want to have a faster speed or a slower speed. So companies like Amazon will be targeted specifically because internet service providers know that everyone shops on Amazon and their business is very important to them, and their business is solely web-based, and can go to Amazon and say, you're going to be slower unless you pay us. And then Amazon will have to fork over that money. And it's just another way for internet service providers to make a ton of money off of these websites, but it'll make it really hard for people that don't have the money or ability to do that. Like,
It's a literal shakedown from internet service providers on anything that you visit online that they feel like doing it to, where they can go and say, hey, we're going to restrict access to your information because we fucking want to, unless you pay us fucking money.
yeah, so it'll slow down things like nerdchills.net.
Or Netflix.
Netflix, yeah. I mean, Netflix is another one that they've said will be targeted. It was like Netflix, Amazon, Google, and then if internet service providers are related to or owners of a website, they can also speed that up. So if Cox creates their own version of Netflix, or an internet service provider creates their own network or streaming service, then they could charge you, or they could charge Netflix to make their service faster, or just make theirs fastest.
Yeah.
So you're encouraged to use their product.
And here's how it relates to the consumer is you might be sitting there saying, well, I don't give a shit because I don't know Netflix, so I don't care what they charge them. And here's a couple examples that you've already experienced in your life that you can expect to experience if net neutrality is repealed. I've grown up in the Chicagoland area with Comcast. Comcast routinely shakes down anyone who broadcasts through them and says like, hey, you have to pay us more money or we're not going to put your channel on the fucking air. Mm-hmm. And when they do that, that company says, well, you know what? Go fuck yourselves. And you know what you get? You go to Comedy Central to watch South Park and you get a channel created by fucking Comcast that says
Comedy Central wouldn't pay us.
Comedy Central is not going to agree to this deal and you need to call them right now. And then they give you Comedy Central's number for you to call and complain because they won't pay them the money that they already told them they wanted. And Comedy Central said no. And you lose your channel until they resolve it. And what winds up happening is they pay them more money, and then you pay more for your Comcast service because you have to supplement the fact that they're charging Comcast more.
That's what blows my mind. It's like, who's going to pay for this? Because everyone always riots every time Netflix raises their rates. Even though it's like literally $1 or $2 every time they do it, people freak out. Tons of people are like, I'm never using Netflix again.
The cost always gets passed
price
onto the consumer. And say they do this to Netflix, like Charlie's using it as an example. And CJ can attest to this because CJ understands the way that we bundle cell phones and cell phone service. where you have unlimited data or picture messaging or text messaging or unlimited minutes. Is first they go to Netflix. The internet service provider can go to Netflix and say, unless you pay us this, we're putting you in the slow lane. No one will be able to stream at 4K. No one will be able to stream at 1080p. Everyone will hate your service. So, of course, Netflix will pay up the money. Then Netflix will say, we're raising our price per month by $2 a month. For all their users, you're going to be like, well, that's fucking bullshit. And then what else happens? If net neutrality is repealed, they don't only shake down. The internet service provider doesn't only shake down Netflix or whoever else they want. They also shake you down.
Yeah.
And they say, would you like to have the best streaming service available? Do you watch Netflix? Well, for $15.99 more, we have a Netflix package that will allow you to stream Netflix at the optimal speeds. And if you don't pay that, guess what? They throttle you at home. They don't just throttle you at the source, and you have to pay more for each thing. So when you a la carte a package together, like if you're buying a cell phone plan, prepare to fucking do that when you're trying to set up your internet and cable provider.
Basically start buying DVDs again.
Yeah, they're literally going to create an internet that they can restrict. And the best example I can give you guys, and this is how I've been able to explain it to people that just don't understand it, is if an internet service provider can determine what you look at, which they can with impunity, if they can find a way to actually do it, they have the right to violate your privacy and say, what is he looking at on his computer? They can either decide based off of that whether or not you are allowed to look at it, or whether or not you need to pay them extra to look at it.
Yeah.
So for anyone out there who, I'll just use a basic example, watches porn on the internet, if you like doggy-style porn, you might need to pay an extra $5.99 to Comcast, or you're going to be stuck with the missionary package. Or if they decide that they're going to actually regulate your morals, they might just come out and say, like, you know what? You're allowed to watch doggy-style and missionary, but reverse cowgirl and anime and hentai and definitely tentacle, those are all flat-out restricted, and you're not able to watch it. And if you do, we'll restrict your internet service.
It could be like when you download things. Granted, that's illegal, but when you download certain things and they email you to take it off your computer.
And I've gotten those emails.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you downloaded this and this is a copyright strike against da-da-da-da-da. You need to remove this from your computer immediately. Imagine jerking off and getting a fucking email that's like, you're watching something that's restricted and we know it and you have to stop right now or we'll ban your account.
The whole thing to me is, I already feel like we've gone through a struggle with internet service providers in regards to streaming services, period. I know several people who limit what they upload, download, stream throughout the month because their internet service provider has capped them, because they don't want you to stream endlessly, because then you don't have a reason to have cable. And the sad thing is, a lot of those people still have cable anyways.
Right.
But they don't want to lose cable subscribers, so they ruin your ability to stream as much as you would want to.
And this is most definitely pushback from the fact that everyone likes to cut the cord now and say, hey, I don't want to buy all this bullshit. I want to sign up for something like Sling, where I'm going to buy internet from you, pay $20 a month to this service, and just pick the channels I want to watch and not have to worry about all the bullshit you guys charge me.
Yeah.
And that's what you should be allowed to do, because this is fucking America. And you're allowed to go and actually say, hey, here's what I want. You can't force me to buy something.
Like, instead of competing, they're just going to find a way to charge you and make you use their service.
They're going to find a way to legally force you to pay them to do anything on the internet that you want to do.
And this is probably the worst time for it, because I feel like we are such an internet-dependent society.
And that's why they're doing it.
Yeah.
Right now, especially, like, they're going to start charging people for a gaming package or for a streaming package. And, like, say you have a device where, like, an Xbox One or a PlayStation, or basically anything that has a Netflix or Hulu app that also games, you might have that and you think, okay, I purchased this, I can play games now. I'll pay Xbox or PlayStation enough to use their online service and I'm good. Nope, now you're going to have to pay your internet service provider to game, because they will determine, like, the amount of packets that you upload and download based off of the transmission of your fucking internet, because they can do that, and say, we noticed that you've been streaming a lot, or we noticed that you've been playing games a lot. And they will absolutely do that. And I can tell you from experience, we just had house guests that were here for a couple months, and 2 of those 3 months that they were actually here, we received emails from Cox Communications, which is essentially the Comcast of Las Vegas, that told us that we have hit our limit on what we're allowed to download for the month, and anything over this, every 100 gigs we go over our limit, will be charged like an extra $20. And I was like, that's fucking bullshit. How the fuck did that happen? Oh, we were streaming some. We had 5 people in a house that would stream here and there at the same time. And that was enough to be told, like with a cell phone, hey, you're out of data.
Yeah.
We're going to charge you $15 for each gig you go over. And that's not just going to be this. Literally, if this is allowed, you can show this podcast to your fucking kids when you're older and be like, this is what the internet used to be.
Yeah.
And you will be that fucking old person being like, I remember when they didn't used to charge us for everything we did on the internet. Mm-hmm. And that's what net neutrality is about. When you hear the word net neutrality and you're not sure what that means, net neutrality means keep everything neutral, where you pay the same to your internet service provider regardless of what you're going to do with the internet. And someone like my mother, who provides closed captioning for the hearing impaired, and she works from home, and she uses the internet to fucking transmit that.
Yeah,
she gets
crazy.
an audio file sent to her, which is a live audio file that's 12 seconds early, so she can type it out and broadcast it back to the live feeds that you can see it on time as it scrolls through. They have no idea how that would affect someone like her, because it's like, well, if she hits her upload cap, then they're going to throttle it unless she pays more money.
Even streamers, like all the people that stream and broadcast.
Yeah, streamers would be...
That would be huge for them.
And if you want to say that you want to support candidates who represent you and you're a small business owner, you absolutely are not represented in this whatsoever.
No.
Nerd Chills is a small business. Like my mother's captioning service, that's a small business. And everything that we do online is 100% affected by it. And if you're going to try and get an actual like commercial level or business level internet account, that is going to go through the fucking roof, and the cost will be absolutely astronomical for it.
It's like, even though it's a long shot, the internet allows anyone to become what they want to be. Like, if you want to become a YouTuber, you have that option. If you want to become, like, all you need is the internet and the proper hardware, and you're good. Like, if you want to start a podcast, fairly simple. And this just adds another level of difficulty, and I don't think it's going to benefit anybody except for people that are in the internet service.
Yeah, that own an internet
company.
service provider, which is none of the regular people in the world. It's a fraud for anyone to represent it as anything other than we are exploiting the freedom of information that the internet provides and the freedom of use that anyone that has created any product that you want to use through the internet, we're going to find a way to charge you for all of it.
And the FCC is supposed to be for the people. It is a government organization that is supposed to defend the people of this country, and it's not doing that.
Not at all. And they're
siding with the internet service providers and allowing them to do this to people.
They're completely misrepresenting what this would do, and 100% they're completely misrepresenting it as something that provides some level of protection to an internet service provider, like they've been exploited somehow, which is 100% bullshit. Yeah. And it's literally them looking at it being like, we can charge people so much more if we're just allowed to. Mm-hmm. And up to this point, the protections have been in place where it's like, well, we don't let you do that because that's exploitation.
Yeah, the only reason you've been able to get a higher cost of internet is if the general rates in your area go up, or if you are buying a higher speed.
Yeah, and that's how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're looking at it from top to bottom saying like, well, this isn't fair to the internet service provider. They are literally acting like the American people have taken advantage of internet service providers by using the service they've provided without paying them extra money for each thing that they wanted to do. That would be like if you bought a fucking car, and if you wanted to put on your radio, they deducted money from your fucking check or from your debit account every time you put it on. Or it's like if you bought satellite radio, and they're like, okay, now that you bought satellite radio, what genres are you going to listen to? Because each genre, you want rock and roll? That's $2.99. Yeah. Oh, did you want pop? Did you want emo?
Service on top of service. That's
every
insane.
Single thing that you go through, they're going to charge you additional money for it. And then they had a way to tell what you're listening to. And then maybe someone in one of those songs says, fuck satellite radio. You're no longer allowed to listen to that because they're allowed to regulate what you're allowed to listen to. That's the exact example of what will happen when net neutrality is repealed and internet service providers are allowed to do whatever the fuck they want.
I think, honestly, like we were talking about before this, I think the only answer would be if every single website would just agree to not pay.
Yeah.
It's like, then we'll all just be in the slow lane. It's like, I just really hope that there will be some big players in this that will refuse. Like, I really hope Amazon and Google and Netflix, the people that are going to be targeted by this, will band together and say, we're not paying a dime. Like, you can make us as slow as you want to, but you're going to have to make everything on the internet slow because we're not paying for it.
Yeah, it's absolute bullshit. Like, the best example I can give you to end this from my perspective is by us saying that we don't agree with this, if this was a year in the future and it has already progressed the way it's progressing right now, we could literally have our downloads capped to a kilobyte a second.
Yeah.
And you guys would have to spend 10 days just downloading a single episode of Nerd Chills to listen to it because they didn't like the content we provided, and they decided whether or not you're allowed to listen because they know best based off of whatever the fuck they feel.
This is a step backwards.
It's a giant step backwards.
We already don't have
everything.
as fast of an internet speed as other countries because our government wants to have some kind of ability to control and to monitor things, and they can't figure out how to do it at a faster speed, so we're not allowed to access that type of speed. Now on top of that, we have this to deal with. So just hope that if anyone has this issue or this becomes a problem, you're not going to call Amazon or Google or whoever you're having the issue with. You will call your internet service provider instead, or you will call your congressman or your senator, because that's who's really costing you this.
Absolutely.
It's not Netflix. If Netflix is slow, it's going to be the fault of the ISP or the people who allowed this to happen.
Yeah. And I used to work across the street from a Comcast location, and when they started doing the thing where they put up their own customized channel, or they started broadcasting their own customized banner on a channel that's already been paid for, talking shit about that channel for not wanting to pay them more, people used to come by and vandalize that fucking office because it was a corporate headquarters, and someone came by and inflated a 30-foot giant rat.
Wow.
In front of it because they're like, this is fucking bullshit. Like, you can't do this shit to people.
I remember seeing that with like DirecTV. You would see I remember there was some Fox dispute they had a while back where it was like the stars of your favorite FX shows coming on and saying like DirecTV won't compromise, and then DirecTV coming out and saying like you're gonna lose Fox if you don't call them and be like, what's up?
Yeah, and that's just the perfect example of what's about to happen with everything on the internet.
Yeah.
So
make sure you put that time in on your schedule, your busy schedule, to call all these people to complain.
Yeah, as soon as you want to go to a website and it's slow loading, and then your internet service provider provides you a page that tells you it's that website's fault, it is 100% fucking not. And just make sure that if you really adore Comcast or Cox, you give them a call and let them know that that's not okay with you. And if you're one of the many people that I know who don't really like the people that provide you with internet service because they could basically up their rates whenever the fuck they want to and treat you like a secondhand citizen when you call in for customer support, or make you wait for weeks when you need technical support, or when your internet service goes out and they tell you, well, too fucking bad. Because I've had that happen to me multiple times out here where my internet service has gone out for days, and I've been told, like, well, there's no other option in the valley, so we'll get to you when we get to you.
Yeah.
And them almost refusing to give me a credit for the days I literally couldn't access the internet. Like, this is them making that customer service not only 100% acceptable, but 100% expected across the board, and then them using that same attitude to decide what you are and are not allowed to do on the internet. So as someone who didn't really know much about the issue starting out, CJ, would you say you have a better idea of what net neutrality is now?
Definitely have a better idea. Being someone who kind of like Charlie said, internet runs my entire life, I kind of feel a little stupid for not paying more attention to it. And I just gotta say, hopefully everything goes the right way and it doesn't happen and it all stays the same, because having to not only pay for my computer or pay for my console and then pay for my game and then pay for my online service and then pay for my internet, and then on top of that having to pay more just to play all that stuff I bought just sounds A, like a huge headache, and B, more money than I would want to spend.
Yeah, and there's no limit to what you would spend or would be allowed to do. Like, if there's a scene in a video game where a Comcast office or a Cox office isn't depicted exactly how they want it to, they could literally tell you, like, oh, you're not allowed to stream that game. If we catch you streaming that game on our service, we'll shut down your service. And that's just absolutely not acceptable.
I know that there was, I think I saw something earlier, it was like a tweet from Comcast, and they were saying, like, we don't have any plans of doing this stuff, but it's like, I don't have any plans of murdering someone, but if you guys could just make murdering people illegal, that'd be great. It's like, that's all I hear when people say
Comcast's tweet was like, we don't intend to do this, we don't intend to do this, we don't intend to do this, to go over all the things that people are concerned about. Yeah. And someone tweeted back at them, and it's like, but we want you to say it's okay if we do this, and it's okay if we do this, and it's okay if we do this.
Yeah.
We just promise we never will.
Exactly.
It's like, then
why do you need the access?
Why are you spending hundreds of millions of dollars lobbying to make this okay?
Yeah.
It's like you're completely fucking full of shit. Completely full of shit.
Such a lie.
So that's...
But I'm kind of I side with Charlie for sure, is hopefully when they go, if this does happen, when they start to go price gouging, hopefully the bigger internet-based companies take a stand and really kind of put them in their place.
If they fuck around too much, someone like Google, a giant out there is going to be like, we're providing Google internet. And here's how much you pay for it. It's fucking fiber optic.
Yeah.
And we're going to wire it all across the fucking country because we have the money to. And everyone will switch and it will completely destroy everything else. Like, it will literally break down those companies that thought it's okay. And then they'll spend all their money lobbying why Google shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Yep. I predict that. I was just about to say it before you were going to say it. Is I just want Google to do what Google does best and just come in and be like a decent company, even though it's scary how much they do and they control and how much we love them.
Right.
But I think that they would be the company to be like, you know what, fuck you guys. Like, this is our own internet. Yeah. This is Google, because they've already done Google Fiber in a lot of different cities.
Right.
And if internet service providers are not capable of working with them, then they'll just be like, fuck you, we'll work around you.
It'll literally give rise to a different version of the internet where it's like, do you want to play with your friend cross-platform? Or do you want to play with your friend who's on Xbox? What internet do they have? Do they have regular internet or do they have Google internet? Because you can play with them, but not if you're running on different internets. Because it's going to force people to say, like, you know what, this is fucking bullshit, and just move on. And then you're going to have all the battles of whether or not you can regulate something that's privately owned by someone else that allows access from private citizens to use it. Like, if I created my own network and, like, allowed CJ and Charlie access, and then that network got big enough, if the government could step in and tell you how to regulate it and what would happen from there on. But, like, right now the step we're at is net neutrality is in the process currently of getting repealed, so that all this shit can happen. Yeah. And that is not okay. So if you have any opportunity whatsoever to speak out against it, or someone asks you how you feel about it, or you have a politician who's running for re-election who is against net neutrality, you need to tell them, go fuck yourselves and not vote for them. Or if you see that they supported the repeal of net neutrality, you need to say, fuck you, I don't want you in office. And that doesn't mean you have to vote for the opposite party if you're terrified of doing that. Vote for someone else within the party who represents what you actually fucking believe and how you actually represent yourself on a day-to-day basis of, like, I use the internet at my leisure and however the fuck I want, and I think that should be okay. And there's plenty of people out there who don't think that's okay.
Is that how our government was built to work in the first place?
They're supposed to represent the people, and the problem with this issue is that most of the people have no idea what the fuck's going on with it. They hear net neutrality and they're like, oh yeah, I kind of know about that, but I don't know what side I'm on. Like, I don't know what the argument is. Well, we just presented it for you guys.
I'm neutral.
And now you know. Yeah. So that's the point of this, is so that you guys are informed about this. So if you want to do whatever the fuck you want, if you want the freedom to go on the internet and not have to pay a ridiculous cost to be censored by whoever the fuck wants to censor you as long as they have enough money, you don't have to be. So I think that's it. I think we covered the entire thing.
Yeah.
It definitely really pisses me off that in a society and in a country where we talk about freedom constantly, and we say we're the best at everything and our country's the best because we're free, we do literally everything we can to gouge the citizens within that country to pay as much money as possible because we tell each other, like, capitalism allows that. And that's not capitalism. That's just straight up fucking greed, which is not allowed in this country. And at some point, the citizens will push back and they'll say, like, hey, this isn't fucking okay. And we have multiple ways to do that. And just be aware that if you see something that's, you know, beneficial and you're allowed to say, that's not okay, here's my opinion and here's what I'm going to do about it. You should understand the issue before you decide to take a side. And make sure that you're actually representing what you believe. You shouldn't take a side where you're saying, like, oh, I'm totally for repealing net neutrality because my congressman told me I should. And then you have it happen. You're like, what the fuck happened to my internet? Because that's what most people is going to happen to most people. Happens. They're going to be convinced that it's okay. Then as soon as it happens, they're going to be like, well, that was bullshit. It's like, be aware before it happens, which is where we're at right now.
It's kind of the times we live in. You have to be a lot more aware of what's going on.
Yeah,
if not, you're gonna end up on the wrong side or supporting a side that you don't actually believe in because you don't understand.
Yeah, being the freedom to share information in the society we live in now, the most dangerous thing is the fact that there's just a massive amount of people out there who want to share disinformation to get the majority, or at least as many people as possible, on their side, because they're just honestly too busy or too lazy to figure out what side they should actually be on. And this is just an easy way for you guys to listen to your podcast and be like, well, that's fucking bullshit. And if you tell one person about this, that's one more person that knows what the fuck net neutrality is and how it affects them. Because I've had multiple conversations for like the last 3 or 4 days with my friends who just have no fucking clue. And the porn example is the one that just rings true with all of them. Where it's like, do you honestly want someone, right? Just normal dudes. But it's like, do you honestly want someone to come forward and tell you what you are and are not allowed to watch? The Netflix one works on normal human beings, you know? And like the fact that like you a la carte everything with your cell phone package, where it's like, shouldn't I just be able to pay for the phone and then like the usage and then be done with it? Like, well, no. Yeah. We found ways where we can determine what kind of data you're using, and you have to pay for each and every fucking one of them. And that's what we're looking at. That's what we're staring down the barrel of right now. So,
don't throw out your physical media, people.
Yep. This is why I save my porn on my hard drive. And everyone's always asked me why I don't just stream it. And it's like, because I've been preparing. So, there you go. CJ, you got anything else you want to toss into this before we put a pin in this one?
No. I mean, you guys covered it really well. Maybe like some of our listeners are going to come into this not knowing, and I am pretty well informed now, and hopefully everything goes the way it goes, and we're going to be okay, and we can still just use our internet how we want. And maybe one day it'll be like our internet will be like the rest of the world, but we'll see if we
Let's
get
hope
there.
So. But this has been episode 47 of the Nerd Chills podcast. As usual, here's all the traditional plugs. You can find the Nerd Chills podcast on Patreon at Nerd Chills. You can kick us a couple bucks, get early access to the podcast and some other stuff for the other tiers. Go ahead and check that out. Every dollar helps, and we really do appreciate it. You can find us on Facebook on facebook.com/nerdchillspodcast. It's a Facebook page, not a Facebook group. And you can send us messages and interact with us. We always appreciate that. You can go there, and we have links to our Discord every time we share one of our episodes. You can jump in there. All the shit is 100% free, and talk to us in the Discord. If you want to tweet at the show, it's nerd_chills. If you want to email the show, it's nerdchills@nerdchills.net. If you want to go to the website, it's not been updated in some time, but it does have quite a bit of information on there. You can go to nerdchills.net. If you want to email myself, you can email me at maylum, MAYLUM, at nerdchills.net. You can tweet at me at the Adam Diaz, or you can find me here every week, I think. I don't know. There's some other stuff that I usually say, but I can't remember it right now. But that's pretty much everything for me. CJ, where can the fine folks find you?
Twitter is at Sacred Infinity. You can find me streaming a bunch on Twitch. More lately, especially streaming all of our Call of Duty scrims and the tournaments we're playing in. That's twitch.tv/Sacred Infinity. And then if you have any questions for me that you just want to send personally, you can email me at sacredinfinity@nerdchills.net.
Cool. And Charlie, where can the fine folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter. It's Charlie with an EY_NC as in Nerdchills, or you can email me at charlie@nerdchills.net. I really wanted to think of like a fun sharing contest. Like, if you share this net neutrality episode, we charge you like $2 for every syllable.
Every syllable that you listen to will be charged an extra $2 on your Nerd Chills fee. No, honestly, guys, like, this last episode was like our second or third most downloaded episode.
Thank you.
And we're continuing to grow quite a bit, and we appreciate everything you guys are doing.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Like, word of mouth helps us. We're a new podcast. I mean, we're at episode 47, but legitimately this is the first time any of us have been on a podcast, and watching it grow is very exciting for us.
Babies.
So,
yeah,
rating us on any of the ways that you listen to it, like iTunes or Google Play, that really helps us too.
Do it while you can.
Yeah, right? Do it while you're allowed to without paying an extra fee. And honestly, sharing the podcast helps a ton. Some of you guys do it, and that's amazing. Or just telling a friend, like, hey, I listen to this podcast. They recap a bunch of the news from the previous week in the world of nerd, because that is what we do. And we appreciate everything you guys do and the fact that you listen. So even if you want to just email us and tell us, like, hey, I've been listening since this episode, it's really exciting for us to talk to people that actually like listen to us. I was talking to Dave, who's one of our super fans. He won our sharing contest for the month of October, and
gotta bring that poster over.
All right, we're going to set up a meet and greet so we can actually get him his poster because he lives in the same city as us. So we're all just going to sit down and hang out. And I'm kind of excited about it. You haven't agreed to that. You have not. I'm just going to have you come over for a podcast
also,
episode.
CJ's not here.
And he's going to be here. Yeah, I don't think he knows that CJ's not here either, so I'm just going to be like, oh, CJ died. Sorry, bro. But we love you guys. Thank you guys for everything you do. We appreciate you. So I'll let Charlie do the sign out this week because I think it's been a while since she's done it. So take it away.
Everyone, take a chill pill. Talk to your congressman about net neutrality. and have a good week.
See ya. Brr.